work doesn't, I've never once dreaded going to work here, which to me is how I want to live my life. I don't ever want to go to another country on holiday and come back thinking, oh, back to reality. I don't want that. I want my reality to be like it's a continuous holiday.
Plug! YouTube! Y'all, I have a new interview for y'all today. This person has been living and traveling abroad for the past 6 to 7 years. But the biggest thing is she was able to move her mother to Chiang Mai, Thailand with her. And she's been living here for 2 years. But before we jump into this interview, I do want to make an announcement that I am now partnering up with this company right here to offer DTV services, your long-term residential services, your education and work visa. And I recently got approved for my DTV right here. So I'm here to help y'all make this process easier for your trip to moving to Thailand. But without further ado, let's jump into this interview. Hey y'all, I'm back with another interview. We're in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and it's a hot one today. We by the river right now. The river, lake really ain't helping, but I'm excited to get into this interview, and I'm gonna have her introduce herself.
Okay, my name is Monique. I'm from England and I've been living in Chiang Mai for about 2.5 years now. So.
Okay, yeah, and when I met Monique, she has so much wisdom when it comes to traveling.
Oh, still
and I know you started traveling pretty early. So let's first start off with how you started traveling, what age, what year?
2011.
Okay.
I finished university in 2010, and it was that typical thing where I'd finished, wasn't quite sure where to go, and actually at the time, my ex-boyfriend and I, we were going to go into business together. We both did film production at uni.
Okay, so y'all both about 22, 23 years old?
Yeah, 22. Yeah. And we had another guy come in, so it was a local film company, non-for-profit, and it was going well, and that's when I panicked. I was like, things are getting serious. I was moving back to my hometown. Things were feeling locked in, and I could tell I was wanting to get out. So
you felt claustrophobic, like?
I just felt like it wasn't my next step. It just wasn't feeling right. So I decided. Well, as it transpired, I left, and then I was at my uncle's house one day. And I think I'd made noises that I'd wanted to travel, and he ushered me over to his computer, and he told me about this company called Bunak.
Okay.
And what they do is they get solo travelers together, they put you on a Facebook group, and so you get to know each other, and then they'll put you on a flight, and they'll take you out.
Wait, for free? Or
what's
the arrangement?
Pay.
Okay,
so,
what's the arrangement?
The arrangement is, I wanted to go to New Zealand.
Okay.
And well, it was either New Zealand, Australia, or Canada. And I chose New Zealand because it felt a bit more authentic. That's use of a better word. And I don't know if you know this, but like New Zealand, Australia, and Canada, you can get working holiday visas, where you can go for a year or two and you can travel, or you can get a job as a native if you want to, as a national, sorry, not a native. And obviously, I could just go to New Zealand and do that myself, but I was 22, I was young.
Yeah.
And
no one in your family has been traveling? Like, you were the only one who's like starting this traveling journey? Did you have anyone to look up to, or?
I mean, my grandparents migrated to England, but I didn't really know their journey at that time. So I was the first one in my generation, and my friends as well. So, yeah, my uncle told me about Bunak, and they help you with they put you on a flight, and they help you with getting your visa and stuff. And when you get to New Zealand, they put you on a flight to Hong Kong. You get to know other solo travelers, and then they take you to New Zealand. And there's like an office there in New Zealand. They'll help you with your bank. They'll help you with getting
all the stuff that you really need.
That, after that, I could do it myself. Whenever I went to countries after that, I could do it myself. But they really helped me at that time.
So that sets you up. So that same type of program, you just apply that same pattern to everywhere you travel.
But it was nice. The reason I'm focusing in on it is because yes, I could do that myself, but it would have felt daunting. This was a nice icebreaker. It meant that I could look forward to it. It meant that I could get excited. It felt like a new adventure. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's why I'm bringing it up.
So you got to New Zealand, you know, that was brand new, right? Is there anything that caught you off guard or anything that just was different? I know a lot of stuff was, but...
The first thing that caught me off guard was the friendliness. I mean, New Zealand's not too different from England in terms of the climate, and like it's a very friendly place, but then they have the Maori culture, and like the landscape is just out of this world. So yeah, that was when I started. One thing about being out there though is looking for jobs is so, like every few months is so tiring.
I can believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're coming out there with the intention to work, like you got with this company.
I had to, like New Zealand's not cheap.
Yeah.
And so even when I was working, I couldn't really save money, not like in Australia.
Okay, and I guess that really leads us to our next point. So you're already starting this traveling journey, not off a strong foundation. You don't have savings, you're getting jobs, you're trying to find opportunities. So, you know, what you learned from New Zealand, where did you go to next? Like, what did you,
So, like, when I first got to New Zealand, and I knew I was going to be there for a year because that's how long my visa was, that felt daunting. I was like, a year's a long time, that feels like eternity. And then the year just whizzed by, and I thoroughly loved it. I wasn't ready to go back to England. So, my cousin was using my car back home, and I rang him up and I was like, would you buy my car off me so that I can hop on a plane to Australia and get another 2-year visa? So that's what I did. I like the travel bug had got me. I was addicted. Yeah. I loved backpacking. I didn't like the finding a job part, but I was getting more confident as a person. I was finding it easier to make friends. I was learning a lot about myself. And yeah, it was good. I mean, I remember at the time my father said to me, yeah, it's nice you're traveling, Ron, it's all cool, but they're Western countries, so it's not really traveling, is it? And that got my back up because I was like, actually, it's quite hard it's the other side of the world, and it's quite hard to be moving on all the time. It gets quite exhausting. Like I said, having to, every few months, go to a new city, set everything up, find where to live, get a new job. It's a lot of work. It was tiring, but obviously rewarding.
Yeah, and you did this time and time after again. And a lot of the people watching, this might be their first time going to a new country, living in a new country. So hearing about some of those things is very important. So what is some things that really stuck with you coming out of New Zealand that carried on to the rest of your travels?
I guess just perseverance. Like, I think I wasn't really thinking like that at the time. I was more just like, I'm on this journey now and I can do it, and things were getting easier. Like I said, I was learning more about myself. So I think it was more like after New Zealand, I realized that this wasn't just a gap year. This was actually going to start to become a lifestyle. I realized I wasn't someone, because at that time as well, I had a lot of friends back home who would say to me, okay, you've had your fun now and you're going to come home and get a real job and settle down type thing. And the more people said that to me, the more I was like, but I'm enjoying it. I don't feel any need to be at home for what? I'm still young. I was only 23 by this point. And it made me realize I've never really been career driven. I realized like every other passion I had before then went out the window and travel took over. It was what drove me. So to me, I was just like, this is the start. New Zealand felt like an eternity. When I first got there, afterwards I was like, no, I still feel like it's the start now, 14 years later. But
we always begin it.
No, that was a good stepping stone too. So yeah, I was then in Australia for 2 years. And so then I'd been down under for 3 years and I hadn't been home, I hadn't seen anyone.
So all that talk about you got to come home, it was quiet.
No, but obviously I was desperate to see my mum because we're close, and just to see my family. And I remember that feeling of like getting on the plane and going home after 3 years was the adrenaline. Like I couldn't stop shaking, but I was so excited, but crying because it was the end of an era. 3 years was a long time. It felt like a good chunk, you know. So my plan at that point was I knew, again, I had the same feeling after Australia as I did with New Zealand. I'm still I was like, I'm going home to see everyone, but this is not it. Like, I already knew that I was ready to go somewhere else. So I'd already had it in my mind that I was going to do like a TEFL course so that I could teach English. I wasn't sure which country yet. But I was going to figure that out when I got home. So I got home and caught up with everyone, realized that nothing really had changed but myself.
And that was confirmation right there.
I already knew that was going to be the case. So, yeah, I got on with the TEFL course pretty much straight away. I did stay longer in England than I had intended. I think it was like 7 months. And I found, so the company that I did the TEFL course with, I'd never taught before. And to be quite honest, teaching was never really something that was on my radar, which is interesting because I'm good at it. Like, I would back myself. Anyway, the company that I did the course with, they had a volunteer program where they would bring you to Thailand to volunteer so that you could get some practice and know-how. And they also helped me find a job in China. So my plan then was to come to Thailand. I went to Koh Samui for a month.
How did you find this company? So the people watching this, how can they find such an opportunity like yours?
I think you just kind of have to do your research because I already knew as I didn't want to be just going straight to a job. I wanted that experience. So I was already searching online for like a volunteer program where I could do the course and learn.
You want to be very prepared.
Yes, yeah. And a lot of them, they were quite expensive where you would do the course out in a country, whereas I still had time in England. So I was like, I want to do the course now. And so I found this company called I2I TEFL, which I do recommend. They're big in England, actually. So they're quite famous. And
so then you went to China. They got you a job in China. You started working there. And how long was you in China for?
a year initially, and then my contract ended. I came home. And funnily enough, my manager, I did a good job out there. So I asked her for a reference one time and she said, forget the reference. If I give you a pay rise, will you come back? And I had no intention of going back to China. I was ready to go to a new country, do you know what I mean? And so I just made some wild demands. I said, I want this apartment, I want this money, and just thinking she would say no. And she said yes. So I remember just going to my mum and was like, it looks like I'm going back to China.
I would too. Yeah, no, that's amazing. And what year is this?
It was nice though because it was the parents that were asking for me. And this was a turning point because I will admit, like I said, I originally taught because it was a way to travel. But as soon as I got to China, I realized that as soon as I got in the classroom, like I'm a theatrical person, all my background is drama and film and music and all that kind of stuff. And when I got in the classroom, not only was I good at captivating the class, but I cared. And that was what shocked me the most. I actually cared about it. And
you found purpose in it.
Yeah. And after, each time I would have to say goodbye, it was hard. I got emotional. But I think as a teacher, you do need to have passion in it. Because obviously, there's a lot of people who even come to Thailand like me that just do it because it's a means to an end. And now I get irritated with those people, but I can't because I was one of them. But now it's the first time where it's my career. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So where were we?
I think another question that we could have as well is that you're a black woman,
Is it?
And you're traveling to all these different places. And what year was this again? In China? Like what year was that?
It would have been 2015 to 2017.
Okay, yes, fairly pioneerish time. So what was your experience being a black woman traveling?
In Australia and New Zealand, it was no different to England because I'm kind of used to being the only black person around. So that didn't feel any different. China, again, I didn't really feel it. I think people were a little confused because where I lived in China, it was a bit like in Chiang Mai. I lived in the old city, and it was a developing city. It was called Jingzhou. It's in Hubei province, near Wuhan actually, and we all know where Wuhan is now, don't we, after COVID? But at the time, this was before COVID. So yeah, it was a developing city, and I actually didn't see another foreigner at all for 3 months.
Wow.
And then I learned that there were a few Americans, and then teaching at the university, which was across the river. And there was also students, African students. I say African because they came from various countries, East and West, and Pakistani students. So I made my way over because I needed, like, obviously I made friends in China, and I got treated like a celebrity because it was, oh, someone different. And it was intense. I would get stared at, followed, all of it. It was very intense. I had no privacy. So my first few months, I've got to admit, it was quite isolating, but also like I felt on show. So I will admit I needed a Western comfort, or I just needed a bit of familiarity. So I went on over to the university, and I met a couple of Americans, and then I also met a guy from Zambia, and then he introduced me to his friends, and that kind of changed my China experience because I had then friends from different pockets, and it became a bit more of a wholesome,
like a melting pot.
Yeah. What was my point? You asked me how it was. So
as a black woman,
as
like
a black woman,
black women watching this now, they're starting to travel. What can you help them with this? Because you felt like a celebrity, but you didn't take it personal.
No.
Yeah, this is just their first time experiencing.
I've heard people sort of say as black people they would not go to China. I would actually still recommend it. I think you need to go think it's not going to be a walk in the park, and you will come across ignorance, but you come across ignorance in every country. For the most part, they're fascinated and they want to know. And
they're just curious.
Do you know what the biggest thing for me is so when I first arrived in China, the girl who sort of did my induction at my job, she kind of pulled me to one side. She was like, sensitive topic, but you're going to be the first black teacher at the school. And the parents might be a little wary of you. And I was like, great. Anyway, this was significant because after a year, like I said, I went back and all the parents were clearly asking for me. And then, so I went back and I did another year. And I don't know about now because I've lost touch, but the next 3 teachers after me were all black. So for me, it's like
pioneer.
Yeah, just going to change people's mind one person at a time. And that's how you have to do it. You just have to be yourself and go out there. And, it's not your job to have to educate people, but if you just go out there being you, it'll happen naturally. And I think that, to me, that's win-winning. Do you know what I mean?
I do, and I appreciate you for sharing that as well. So in your time in China, you taking over China. You taking over the East. So I know that while you were there, you started having talks about moving or going to Thailand. What sparked?
No. There's a whole... Still getting ahead. We ain't got there yet. Sorry. So after China, this was when, so I'd been away from home, 5 years by this point? And like I had already said, me and my mum were close. And I think she was like, okay, before I get old and decrepit, I want to do something with you. So my mum sold her house and she said, we're going to do some traveling together. So to put it in a nutshell, when I left China, my mum and I then traveled together, not consecutively, but like in parts. I would be away for a couple of months, come back for a few weeks, go away. But all in all, 3 years. And so, yeah, that was wholesome. I realized how lucky I am to have done that with my mum. And we traveled well together. I was a bit skeptical at first, naturally, because I'd had my full independence of 5 years completely on my own to then being back with my parent. Naturally, you're going to have those reservations, but we traveled really well together. We balanced each other out. Maybe because I did as I was told. No.
Where'd you go next after y'all was moving?
No, this is where it gets boring because, so our last trip was Malaysia, and this was in first few months, February in 2020, and we all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, it stopped everything.
And so my next plan was to come somewhere else. I still hadn't made the decision. Actually, Thailand was not my first choice. I was wanting to go to Vietnam or Costa Rica. But then because COVID happened and I was essentially stuck in England for 2 years, which I was pleased because I'd lost my grandma, and me, my mum and my grandma were very close. So I was pleased that I was at home for that time. I couldn't have imagined being in another country when that happened. So that was my blessing. But other than being there for
2 years,
I felt like COVID kind of made me angry. I know the lockdown needed to happen, but it felt like a waste because I wanted to be somewhere else. Like I just wasn't settling. So after the 2 years, even though my plan was like Vietnam or Costa Rica, I actually, after that, I was just like, I'm craving Thailand. I'd been to Thailand twice by this point. I forgot. After China, I traveled Southeast Asia. I forgot about this. So because I had done a bit of Southeast Asia after China, and so by this point I had come to Thailand twice already. I was craving Thailand. Thailand does have it's quite an addictive country. It's so easy, it's so friendly, and it just has that zazzle. But I'd only been to the south. I'd never come to Chiang Mai. And I had heard, because obviously on my Instagram and Facebook, I've met a lot of travelers along the way. And so I had seen people who had come to Chiang Mai already and had spoken so well about it. I did a bit of research, and people had said it's slow-paced, it's a livable place. And I was like, okay. But so when I went to China, I got the job first, right? And that's usually with most Asian countries, that's how it is. But with Thailand, it's the opposite. Most people come to Thailand first and then they find a job.
Yeah, correct. They do the tourist visa, they do 3 months. You won't
After all those years doing Australia, New Zealand and looking for jobs, I was not coming here without a job. Let me tell you that for free. I was not. And so I already knew as well I didn't want to work in a public school. I loved working in a language centre in China, and that's where I wanted to stay. The hours are unsociable for some people. They're evenings and weekends, but that suits me. I'm not a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 kind of person. So I knew I wanted to work in a language centre. So even though Chiang Mai was on my radar, it was more important to me that I got the job that I wanted. So I, again, was doing my research, and I found a company called AUA. What's the AUA stand for? American Alumni?
We'll put it down here.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, they had a good reputation. So I applied, but then I also emailed the Chiang Mai branch. And my manager got back to me, and he said, look, it's post-COVID. The school's quiet, but I do predict that things will pick up again. So if we have a casual interview and I hired you, it would be on the basis that you wouldn't have many hours to begin with, but would be picking up. So if you want to take that risk. And I don't know, at this point I was already like there. So I said yes. And do you know what? It turns out that it was actually easier for me to get my work visas from England than it would have been if I'd come here.
Why is that?
Because here you have to go out the country and come back, and it's quite a palaver to get your work visa here and change it over from a tourist visa. Whereas in England, I literally could just apply online. I didn't even have to go down to the London embassy, which I did for China. Thailand allows you to do that online in England, probably most countries actually. So yeah, it was a breeze. And then I just came over on a non-B work visa, and then I just did my extension 3 months later.
Easy.
So yeah, I actually think if you're planning to come to Thailand and you want to teach, not every school will hire you from another country, but if you would rather get a job secured first, like I did, try. And, if you know where you want to work, just shoot your shot, because it's the best, it worked for me. My manager even said, yeah, I kind of took a risk, but, you're great, so here we are. It paid off because, I'm really happy with this job.
Mm-hmm. And what did you have to supply to this job in order for you to get the position? I know you had to take the course. Is there anything additional that people should have?
No, to teach, as long as you've got a degree. I know people can teach without one, but to get an actual work visa, you do have to have a degree. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, mine was in film production. It's got nothing to do with English.
But like a 4-year bachelor's degree is what they're looking for.
Yeah. And then obviously just a TEFL course, which you can do online.
Yeah.
So.
But the fact that you was already teaching in other places like China, New Zealand, did that not?
I didn't teach in New Zealand.
But did that help? Like, was that like a?
Yeah, because.
Do they want referrals? Like, what else do they?
As long as you've got the confidence and you present yourself well on camera, I don't think this is actually a kind of job you don't have to have experience for. It did help that I had worked in a language center before. He said it's always because you're coming to a language center, he said it will be easier because people who come from public schools teach differently. So he was like, I know you'll already know your stuff. The only difference is that in China I was teaching children. Here I teach adults.
Okay. You prefer that, yeah.
I didn't know that I was going to, but I think that's why I enjoyed this job so much, because I have quite a cheeky sense of humor, and it all comes out in the classroom here because the adults I can be a bit more myself.
Yeah.
It's not so much of a show, it's more like a social, but yeah, the classroom setup and the people that I meet, like, you know, me and my students will go out. Sometimes they'll take me on days out. So work I've never once dreaded going to work here, which to me is how I want to live my life. I don't ever want to go to another country on holiday and come back thinking, oh, back to reality. I don't want that. I want my reality to be like it's a continuous holiday.
Yeah.
I'm joking. No, I want my reality to be like, you know, some people sort of say, but you have an easy life, and it's because I've made it so. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I knew from New Zealand, I was like, I'm not a Monday to Friday. I don't want to stay in England. I want to just float.
You were certain, and you knew that decision even at 22 when you were like, I'm not just trying to go back home.
Because society will tell you that you need to live in a certain way, and I still feel that anxiousness.
Was it different from coming from home? Was no challenges that you experienced being there? Like you just loved the whole month there?
Yeah, Thailand's easy, isn't it?
Yeah, okay.
But I had this loom over me because after Thailand, that was like, I remember the day before Thailand ended and everyone else was going on to travel, and I was like, I'm moving to China tomorrow. And they're like, oh yeah, you are! And it just sort of dawned on me.
Yeah.
So I got a year's contract in China.
Wow, and you got that while working for that 1 month in Koh Samui?
No, you have to get a job in China, you have to apply. I had to apply in England, and it's not easy actually. The school has to invite you. You have to send all your documents by post. You have to go down. I had to go down to the Chinese embassy in London. So no, all of that had to be sorted before I could even get into the country. So if you want to work as an English teacher in China, there's a lot you have to do beforehand.
And but then where would you start off with for the people watching if they want to work in China? What would you recommend to start off with?
I'd recommend you can contact schools yourself, actually. I always recommend that.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, research what kind of school you want to go in. Or go through an agency, which I did at that time. And then once you have the job, the school sorts you. They
provide, they get you in direction.
They have to, so.
Okay, yeah, so after that 1 month in Koh Samui, you're in Hong Kong.
No, I went to Jingzhou.
Okay.
Which no one ever knew where that was. I had to explain, but obviously now everyone knows where Wuhan is.
Yes,
that's
the
same
pandemic.
Province.
Yeah.
I had to fly into Wuhan to get to Jingzhou. Jingzhou was like an hour and a half train ride away from Wuhan. And when I flew into Wuhan for the first time, it was the first time I'd ever experienced culture shock. Have you had that feeling before?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was overwhelming.
So coming from New Zealand, Australia, and Thailand, your first time experiencing culture shock was in China?
Because I think because as well I was going to be living there.
Yeah.
And what it was is that as I was coming down in the plane, I thought it was extremely foggy, and I was like, oh, okay, it's a foggy day. Yeah. And then I got into the taxi on the way to the train station, and I was looking up and I was like, everything's yellow, and I was like, that isn't fog. The sky's there's no clouds. It's smog.
That's crazy.
And it was I'd come in on a bad day. It wasn't always like that, but I'd come in on a really bad day. And then also I'd say it was about a 30-minute train ride from the airplane, because I needed to get the train to the next city. And it was just 30 minutes of residential high-rises. And so it was dawning on me how populated China was.
Yeah.
And I just suddenly became like that overwhelming culture shock of, this is totally different to anywhere I had been before.
Yeah.
And that culture shock feeling stayed with me for 3 or 4 days.
Got you. But I know you experienced a lot of great things in China, and especially with working. So talk to us about that.
When I first got there, everything happened very quickly because the girl who sort of did my induction. She was from America, and she only had 2 days with me. So as soon as I got into Jingzhou, I was immediately at work. And obviously I was battling the culture shock, battling this whole new job. And I remember after she left and I moved into my apartment, which it was filthy. It was filthy. And it did look like the slums from the outside, but I realized that that's just how the place was. And you got used to it, but obviously with the culture shock, feeling overwhelmed with the job, and I remember sitting down in my apartment, and I bought a bottle of wine because, you know, girl needed a drink. And I sat there and I was just like contemplating life because I was feeling a bit like heavy-chested. And then at the corner of my eye, I saw 2 huge cockroaches coming out of the kitchen, and that was it. All the tears that had been building up, I just came flooding out.
Who found you this spot? Like,
it's just how it is.
That's just how it is. You didn't get no look before you get there.
No, they get, because in China's different in that they provide you with the accommodation, so I don't actually have to pay rent.
Okay.
So beggars can't be choosers, really, can we?
Yeah, no, that's crazy though. Like they would just put you in a place that is literally populated, infested with roaches.
No, when you put it like that, it sounds. But what happened then was, I was upset, so naturally I called my mum, and she did the best thing because, you know, she was very nurturing and was like, I know you've just got there, but you've already proved yourself as a traveller, so no, if you decide China's not for you and you want to come home and you want to go somewhere else, you want to reevaluate, just do that. No one's forcing you to be anywhere. And it was the best thing she could have said to me because I understood what she meant, but my immediate brain was just like, I'm not a quitter, I'm here now. So
you was going to see it through?
Yeah, I took myself to bed and blockaded the doors against the cockroaches.
Wow.
And I got up the next day and I just got on with it, and so that was that.
Okay, and how long did you spend in China?
So I was there for 1 year. I did my contract for 1 year, and then I went home, and I'd messaged my boss for a reference so that I could get a job somewhere else. And she says, I don't want to give you a reference. I was like, pardon? I did a good job. She says, I know, the parents are asking for you to come back. Like, it's getting ridiculous. Would you come back? I will give you a pay rise. I didn't want to. I was ready to move on. Do you know what I mean? I was excited for the next thing. So I made some ridiculous demands. Not ridiculous, I'm not going to insult, because I had a lot of respect for her. It's her business at the end of the day. But, you know, I think I asked for like 45% pay rise. I wanted a brand new apartment that I didn't have to gut before moving into it. And a couple of other things, and she said, yep, okay. So I was like,
easy.
Going back to China then.
Perfect.
So I signed another year. Oh, that was it. No, she wanted me to sign 2 years though, and I said no.
You didn't want to commit that long.
2 years is too much. Not that I said, can I reevaluate after 1 year? I just didn't like
that commitment.
Not at that age.
For sure.
And yeah, after that, I still just wanted to do 1 year. But it was nice because as a black person in China, obviously I faced like the girl who did my induction, I told you. The first thing she said when I landed in China, she took me to one side and she was like, look, you're going to be the first black teacher at this school. The parents are going to be a bit...
And this is 2015, right?
Yeah, 2015. And I was just like, oh, okay, I'd have rather not been... ignorance is bliss sometimes. So that just feels like pressure I really didn't need to have, on top of everything that I was feeling in those first few days. But again, so fast forward a year, the parents asked for me back. Fast forward another year, and my replacements thereafter were all black. So that was a success story in that regard. But yeah.
Let's just talk about that just a little bit. Your experiences being a black woman, traveling from all these different places, and how you overcame and just started thriving in these different places.
I think the thing is where I was based in England in my late teens, I was so used to being the only black person that going out and traveling and being the only black person in certain areas wasn't really new to me, to be honest. So it didn't feel... China was the first place where I felt conscious of being black, to be honest. And even then, I found a community of African people on campus, not too far, after about 3 or 4 months of being there. That was a comfort. But in answer to your question, at that time, yeah, it wasn't my biggest challenge, to be honest. More as a woman navigating, traveling by myself than as a black person.
Yeah, well, you definitely thrive and made it happen, so I'm so glad you was able to do that. And then she was able to bring other people that look like you an opportunity to work in a place that people like us never worked in before. And that's amazing.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, so how did you end up in Thailand? So I know you had that 1 month there, so what made you come back?
So where was we? So yeah, I left China and then I traveled Southeast Asia for a month. I did like Cambodia and a couple of other countries, and I came back to Thailand, and my best friend from England came to meet me. We had a wholesome time, like sharing our adventure together. And at that point, my mum, I'd been away for over 5 years now, and my mum and I are tight. I'm her only daughter. So at this point, she was like, okay, before I get all old and decrepit, I want to do some with you. So my mum was having her own journey. She'd just finished her degree, and she was kind of going through the motions that I had after she'd finished her degree, and was like, I'm ready to be out. I want to do a bit with my daughter. I want to go and see the world. And she was like, I'm selling my house. Against everyone's advice, she was like, when my mum puts her mind to something. So the plan originally was that we would do a bit of traveling together, and then my mum would go off on her own, and I would go and teach somewhere else. But we traveled extremely well together, so we ended up traveling the world for 3 years.
Wow.
And
that's an amazing experience.
I'm very lucky. Like, there are 3 years of like treasured memories that I will, it's sort of hard to put it into words how much gratitude I have for those 3 years. Yeah, I recognize that that's very wholesome, especially because, I don't know, traveling with your parents isn't a common thing. I even had my reservations to begin with. I'd been so independent for so many years, from uni to, because I went away for university. And to then be back with a parent 24/7, it wasn't easy to suddenly feel, because you naturally become you've got the authoritarian with you. But no, we balanced each other out very well. She's less tolerant of things. I'm more easygoing, so where she would be more assertive, I would be more like the reasoning voice. So I learned a lot traveling with my mum as well. And it was good timing, because our last trip, which was our planned last trip, happened to end the same day that England locked down. We got back to England in the nick of time for COVID. So then it was 2 years of my life where I know that it needed to happen, but I can't help but feel it was frustrating that I couldn't go back out and do what I wanted to do. I was kind of stuck where I didn't want to be. Love England, love visiting England, love my friends, love my family. But
you knew you didn't. That's where you wanted to be.
I was still young and still had itchy feet, and I was ready to, go back out and do my own thing again. And my plan had always been to either do Vietnam, because as a teacher, the wages compared to the cost of living are really good, or I was just going to go completely the other way and do Costa Rica, because I'd read so many good things. But I had been to Thailand twice, and after COVID, I was craving Thailand. Like, that's the word I'd have to use with it. I was like, I just want to be back in Thailand, to be honest. So I thought, well, I would be coming back to a country I'm already familiar with, as opposed to going to a new country. So at least let me just see if I can go to a new place in Thailand, somewhere I haven't been, which was when I had remembered that I had seen people's stories who I'd met traveling over the years, and had known Chiang Mai had been on my radar because people have bigged it up so much.
Okay.
Like-minded people, so I was like, okay.
Yeah, it makes it make an easier decision. If they did it, then I can trust their decision. So you got a craving to get back to Thailand. So that's what happened. So you got back to Thailand off of that feeling and you made it happen. So now you're back in Thailand, you're enjoying it. So what's some of the things that really stands out about Thailand versus everywhere else you've been?
A lot. Like, I guess obviously the main thing people talk about is the friendliness.
Okay.
You're immediately comfortable. And the juxtaposition with Thailand and China is that it's so easy. Like, I almost feel sorry for people who come here first, because everywhere else is a challenge. I was pleased I did China first. Yeah, there's...
The friendliness is the biggest one on the list then.
Being able to afford a lifestyle that you want, you feel more in control of being able to enjoy the money that you earn as opposed to it being taken with bills here and bills there, and life just doesn't feel stressful here.
Yeah.
And I literally will set out to have a stress-free life. Like, I mean, people see it as well. It's like, you just have that easy life, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I make sure that I do. And Thailand provides that. Yeah, definitely.
So what does an everyday life look like for you then?
Well, I get up at 6 a.m. I go to the gym. I go for a long walk around the city, and then I'll probably go grab my book and read in a cafe all afternoon.
Okay.
And then I have an evening class, and then take my ass to bed.
Okay, yeah, that's a chill day. That's the day in the life of Monique in Thailand.
It is.
Okay, so are you cooking at home? What's that looking like out here?
I've never cooked a day in my life.
So you don't have to cook here, y'all. You heard it here first.
There's no point. By the time you have ingredients and bring it all together, if you're living by yourself, I just don't see the point. It's 40 baht for a meal. I bet you cook though, don't you?
I don't.
Oh,
I don't even have a kitchen. I have a kitchen, but I don't have like a stove.
It's actually quite common in Thailand. They don't really have kitchens here.
Exactly, and that's one thing that definitely shocked me as well, because when I went in there, I'm like, it's no stove, no oven, just a fridge and countertop. So,
yeah.
But you don't have to cook. What about transportation for you?
Oh, if there was one thing, if I was going to have any complaint about Chiang Mai particularly, is no public transport. Like, I'm a bus girl. Like, every time I go to a new country, I will figure out the public transport system immediately.
Yeah.
But I'm also an avid walker, and Chiang Mai is extremely walkable. I walk everywhere that I need to be. If I have to get a taxi, I will. Unfortunately, they're very cheap here. Yes, I could get a scooter. I have a driving license. I drove back home. We're on the same side of the road here, but I'm not there yet. I'm still not feeling
and you
like
don't
it's
have
worth
to
my
be.
money.
Yeah, it's like you still have a choice. It's not something you have to do.
And I purposely live in the city so that my work is like 30-minute walk.
Yeah. And let's talk about work then. So you've been at your same job for 2 years since you've been in Thailand? The same one? Or did you move around?
No, the job that I'm in, I've stayed here because the job that I'm in, I got the job back home. I didn't come to Thailand and find a job. I refused to do all that after all those years in Australia and New Zealand. So actually when I chose to come to Chiang Mai, I researched, I knew that I wanted to work in a language center again, like I did in China. I had no desire to work in like a public school. I'm not a Monday to Friday type of person. So I'd found a company that was reputable, and I applied, but then also separately emailed. And that was the best thing I could have done, because he emailed my manager, who still is my manager, we're good friends. He emailed me back and was like, look, it's post-COVID. Things are quiet, but I project that business will pick up. So if we were to hire you, you'd be taking that risk that you might not get many hours for a while, but let's have a chat and see. And the rest is history.
And it worked out.
It did work out.
Yeah, so you've been at that same one for 2 years now. All right, perfect. And you had any complications working with them? Anything that stands out to you that someone should know if they wanted to work as a teacher in Thailand?
Having a manager that advocates for the staff first is extremely important. But I think that's with anywhere you go.
Yeah.
But I do think research where you're going first.
Okay. And what about housing for you? Now, we're not showing your apartment right now, but are you been in the same apartment for the past 2 years?
Do you know what? When I first got here, I wasn't sure where I wanted to be, so I just found a cheap, and it's old-fashioned, cheap as the hills apartment in the city, and I chose it because they let me do 3 months.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, 3 months is enough. That's enough time for me to find where I really want to be. No, fast forward 2.5 years, I'm still there.
Hey, that's how you know you loved it. You made a good decision.
And it's nothing special at all, but I remember when I got shown a few rooms in the same complex.
Yeah.
And as soon as I walked in, my agent who showed me around, she was like, oh, I like this one. I was like, yeah, there's something about it. It's just homely. So, yeah, I've just stayed there.
Perfect. All right, so same spot. Has the rent increased since you've been in there?
No, I've learned with Thailand, if you're a good tenant, they will not put your rent up.
Okay.
No, I don't. If they put, I don't think my apartment's actually worth any more rent, to be honest.
Okay.
I pay 6.5, which is standard. For the city, it's good. If you're living in the city, you're usually looking at least 10. For an apartment, I'm sure if you really knuckle down, you could find a lot cheaper, but yeah. I actually do need to look somewhere new because, I told you already that my mum's come out here. I brought my mum out here.
That was literally my next thing because we have to talk about that. That's super huge. The pioneer Monique literally creating job opportunities everywhere she goes.
Oh, you're
but
guessing
not only
me
that,
no, I'm
she
not.
moved her mother out here all the way from England. So let's talk about that transition because a lot of people are trying to relocate their families here as well. And you're a person that actually did it and is currently doing it.
And it was not an easy decision. I think but it was still felt like divine timing in a way. Because obviously my mum and I, we had traveled together for 3 years. And then we still stayed together during COVID. And so I think when I came out here to live, it was a lot harder to be apart than when I was younger. And things just back home in England, I think same with America, the cost of living is just not an easy place to be, especially as a single person.
Not at all, yeah.
And things just were not.
Like you got to team up. If you don't team up, then
It's so, there was a lot of maths and calculations because my mum's not old enough to retire yet. In England, you have to be 67. She's 61. And so, we had to do the maths, and to get a retirement visa, you need 800,000 baht in a Thai bank account.
And how long do you have to hold that in that account for?
Forever.
Forever. So as long as you're living in Thailand, you have to hold the 800,000 baht.
There's a certain point in the year. So say if you've got a year retirement visa, 3 months after and 3 months before you apply, so that's 6 months in the middle, you can touch it if you want to.
Okay.
It's not your only option. If you have a pension and you've retired and you have a pension back home, you can use that instead. If you don't want to put a whole lump sum in, you have 2 options. But like I said, my mum hasn't retired technically yet in England, so that's what we had to do.
So did she go through an agency to get that?
You have to. They make it impossible because to get a bank account, you need a visa. But to get a visa, you need a bank account. And so I remember when I was doing the research, I was like, this is impossible. And eventually I was like, people were saying, you need an agency. On your behalf, they'll get your residency certificate that will allow you to then go to the bank and open your bank account. Because you're going through an agency, it doesn't matter that you haven't got your visa yet because the agency acts as your guarantor. So it is legitimate. And then, they apply for your initial visa, and then you have to wait 3 months, and then you do the extension. And going through the agency was worth every penny because I've been to immigration so many times, and I'm there all day. My mum just had to take her pretty ass in at 3 p.m., sign a couple of documents, and go back out. I was like, are you kidding?
Yeah, that's an amazing
Is that all you have to do?
Yeah, immigration is like an all-day experience.
Oh, gosh, yeah. And there's been times where my school have missed something. Well, not really their fault. Yeah. Thai demands are different every year. There's always something new that they want that's different. So there'll be times where I had to go back the next day or the next week. It's jarring.
So that's one thing you would say that sticks out then will be like visa stuff for you.
Yeah.
one of the challenges just to stay up on top of stuff is just the visa requirements because they change pretty often.
They do, yeah.
Okay.
And even though you're, like, my school sort most of it out, you're still going yourself. Whereas I remember in China, I got escorted everywhere.
That's a difference.
Yeah.
That's a difference. Here, you're kind of like free-willed.
Yeah, which is nice, but can be a bit confusing. You do have to be assertive. It's not always clear. I think even immigration itself, you go in, you're like, where do I go first? It's better than it was the year I got there. The first year I came here. Yeah. It was a bit different, actually.
Yeah, and someone like you who has so much experience with dealing with these immigration people and these offices, the number one thing you would say would be assertive?
Yeah, definitely. And read the room, you know, take in all your surroundings, because one thing I fault myself, I'm not good at asking questions, asking for help, asking for information. I will literally try and figure everything out myself. Yeah. But it's good because I'll watch people, I'll see what they're doing, I'll read things, and you can figure things out yourself, whereas there'll be so many people who just go and ask and be assertive. So I say be assertive because I have to tell myself that. Yeah. I will sit there and, you know, spend more time figuring it out myself.
Yeah, no, I agree with you as well. It's like, just be clear on what you want to do and get it done. And that got you through every single process, so I'm glad. But thank you so much, Monique, for this conversation. You're literally a pioneer in doing all the things that you do and creating spaces that people that look like you can enter in.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, y'all, until next time.